Good afternoon, everybody.
Good afternoon.
Welcome back to Weirdos at Home. Thank you so much for joining us.
This is Tara Brown sitting next to me, the heart and soul of the Weirdos at Home. My name is Sam Slade, and I'm still waiting for the Chicago Cubs to call, but it's not looking good this year, Tara. Today we have such a special guest. We're so stoked about this.
Yeah, totally.
You might know him if you've seen Our Cartoon President,
which we have.
I love that show. Listen to the Jimmy Dore Show. If you were doing stand-up back in the day at Houston Laugh Stop like an OG. If you've watched an anime movie in like the last 20 years, you know this guy. You may have seen him on Letterman, Stern. I get in trouble for going too long with the intros. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Mike MacRae.
Yay!
Well, hello. Thank you for having me. You're doing some deep cuts there with or going back in time with the credits there. The anime, that's been a while.
Which I was
it was
so
fun.
curious about. Whenever we were kind of doing some show prep, I was like, we're talking like early 80s anime stuff. And I just was like, I wonder how that happened.
Well, that's when it was that's when the original Japanese cartoons were made. But, I voiced them in the 2000s and dubbed them into English. So, yeah, it is very odd. If you looked at my IMDb page and all these things that are from like 1983, you're like, how old is this guy?
I know.
It's probably, that was probably very confusing. But yeah, no, those were properties that were purchased and then dubbed into English in the 2000s.
Oh my gosh, that makes so much sense.
Tara was under the impression, Mike, that the Japanese government was flying you over to do voiceover when you were in 8th grade on a private jet to like put you in your booth.
That would be a way more interesting story. I would rather that have been my life, but no, unfortunately, it was a booth in Houston, Texas.
Really? Wow.
Yeah, it was when I started stand up, there was a company called AD Vision that basically purchased, and it was sort of they were sort of ahead of the curve as far as anime becoming a popular entertainment form in the United States. So they would purchase the rights and then dub them into English and sell them on DVD. And that company was centered in Houston. So a lot of local comics and actors, they hired us to do it. Like I still know nothing about anime at all, except for what I've seen while I was in the booth. That's it. But yeah, it was just voice people doing it.
I'm so happy to hear that. I was so worried that you're going to be once we start talking a champion of anime. And I was like such an idiot because I didn't know the difference between Akira and Shinobi and all this stuff. And Mike's like, either way, I don't
even know what you're talking about.
Yeah, I had created.
And the worst is like then they'd have us go to conventions, and they want to ask you questions, and there's just sort of this strategy that they all have, like, yeah, we don't know anything about this, but like here's how you deflect into like talking about the voice or whatever. Like when they ask about the character or whatever, you don't want to reveal to these people that I do not watch this shit at all. Like you don't want to do that, but at the same time you want to like have some kind of answer for their questions. So there's like a strategy of doing like a little dance.
Man, and early 2000s anime conventions, I'm like, I know nothing about that world, but in my head,
it's for real.
It's serious. Seems pretty amazing and also crazy, and just.
I got to go to London for their version of Comic Con.
Whoa!
Like when I was starting out, and they're like, well, let's get like a. They didn't know what they're doing. I think they thought they were getting like a famous anime person. But I'm not going to correct them. They flew me out and put me up in London and everything. And but yeah, that was like high stakes. And some of these kids, I couldn't understand them. They had some serious like Cockney or Manchester accents or whatever. And it was my own ignorance or whatever. But it was, yeah, you're on. And I was in a green room with like these actual people. Like Linda Hamilton was one of the guests from the Terminator. I'm in this green room with her and the guy who played the other guy from Terminator 2, the Bennett Dyson guy.
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't belong here, but I get free shit. This is great. It made no sense. So you like fall ass backwards into things sometimes. You just learn, all right, I don't belong here, but I'm going to enjoy it.
But right, we're going to have fun. That seems to be the way Texans often end up doing it sometimes. it's so funny. He's sitting there in there next to Linda Hamilton, who knows Sarah Connor back to front, and she's like, "What about you, Mike?" And you're like, "Go, Sarah Connor."
Oh yeah, well she was cool as shit. Like it was kind of weird. Yeah, meeting a lot of these people. She's very laid back.
You looked off into the distance very wistfully. Did Linda Hamilton hit on you, Mike?
No, I wish I'd have a different life. But but the good thing, she's a little long in the tooth now. I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, and it was also like I didn't feel like an imposter on them because it'd be like, what are you here? I'm like, oh, I'm part of the anime part, and they don't know anything about that either. They're like, oh, okay, that's cool. That's
what get in here, maniac.
Like they didn't give a shit. Just had free snacks and stuff.
Like everybody knows the anime guys get away with everything at these things. They're the anime guys. That's the fun. Well, we didn't mean to burn 25 minutes on playing around at Comic-Con on somebody's budget, but
it's something that happened.
I wanted to ask you about our cartoon president. You played Joe Manchin and Mitt Romney. Man, how fun does that gig have to be? Especially with everything going on, ramping up. I mean, last year we came very close. I know it got tense in this household.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, it was a fun thing to do. I mean, it was very well written. A lot of the times when I'm doing stuff that is written by other people for the voices that I do, sometimes it ain't great.
Right.
Sometimes it's not very funny, but this was a very funny cartoon. Stephen Colbert produced it, and yeah, I mean, they really took the Mitt Romney character and did a lot of fun stuff with it. And I just randomly got the Joe Manchin part as well, and he's turned into a bit of a big thing. So that was sort of fortuitous to kind of get that voice down. And I was also cast, and I was cast with someone else and recorded for the Mike Lindell pillow guy.
Man.
And it's like they're like, look, we can't choose between two of you, so we're just gonna record you both because you're both like just sort of right on it. Well, of course they went with James Adomian. He's the one that they ended up using, and now he's like famous for doing the pillow guy. So James Adomian he represents sort of the ceiling of my career. Like everything that I could get, he snatches it, and he deserves. I'm not complaining. He deserves everything he gets. He's amazing, but like it's hard to do voices in this business with an Adomian running around.
It's like Jordan, right? It's like LeBron. To put it in perspective, don't feel bad. Like I'm sitting here trying to keep up with anything close to anything you've ever done, and Tara's like, it's okay. We don't need to hear voices today.
Wait, what?
I don't know, man. We're having such a good time. We had all this like serious, like very actory stuff, and now we're having all this fun. So the deal when you show up on Jimmy Dore's show, it seems like you guys are buddies. Is it kind of the thing where like he's like, hey, you want to call in and you just fuck around? Because it seems like you're having so much fun on the phone. Jimmy's just like shamelessly setting you up, like a buddy talking to another buddy calling from a party. I mean, it's awesome to listen to. It's so fun.
Well, we've known each other for about 17, 18 years. Thereabouts. And I know him from stand-up comedy. Like most things I've gotten in my career is because I worked with someone at a comedy club one time and they remembered me and so on and so forth. And he and I've been doing a show since 2011. I've been doing a show for 10 years. So yeah, we've been friends for a long time. I've been doing the show for a long time. We have a rapport, we have a rhythm, we have a shared sense of humor when it comes to this sort of stuff. So yeah, it comes out in our recordings together. And my goal, I don't write all those sketches. A lot of them are written by a guy named Jim Earl. He used to write for the Daily Show. And but the ones I write, I'm basically like, I'm trying to make him laugh. I mean, that's my goal. And that was sort of always when the show was different, when it was mainly a podcast and it was like him and several comedians in a roundtable type thing, it was they had like Frank Conniff was on there and Paul Gilmartin, and they were like movie buffs and stuff.
Right.
And I always knew I could make references that would make them laugh because Jimmy's not like a big pop culture guy. So I can't do that as much anymore, unfortunately.
That's
But I'm
everything.
Go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say, everybody's like, go ahead. One of my
floor is yours.
Please. No, I was gonna say one of my favorite things that Mike does is deep track stuff. Like deep track stuff that you give me crap about.
That's what I know.
I mean, just God, deep tracks, just and you're
and
like,
that's the kind of stuff that makes me laugh the most is like the hidden gems. And I'll be just like listening to something and in the background I'll go, I haven't thought about that in forever.
I mean, we went back and not to do Chris Farley's show, which I'm prone to do on this show with Vince. I like.
No, I love it.
Hey, do you remember when you were squealing laughing a couple days ago listening to him on Door doing Godfather voices? I kept running in from like getting ready to go out or something.
Well, let me explain why. I'm relatively new to the Godfather universe. Like I've always existed. I just had never seen the movies all the way through. And then the very first Christmas that him and I had met and started dating, he was like, let's watch the Godfather movies. We're just sitting around eating, doing nothing. Like, let's just get this going. I am hooked and I've watched them now many, many times. And so I was just dying laughing.
He likes that. Sometimes I'll just quote movies and he'll be like when we're like doing a live stream or something on like a recorded sketch and I'm just like screwing around and he's like, oh, you should call in as that guy. I'm like, I can't think of any, I have to have a premise and a reason for why I'd be calling in to the show. But then I figure out a way like, okay, it's Mo Green. Like when I saw that the Las Vegas casinos were opening back up, I'm like, okay, there's like an angle. There's a possible reason why Mo Green would be calling in to the Jimmy Dore show. Because I can't just like, he wants me to do all these things sometimes. I'm like, that just doesn't make sense. I don't know how to write this. Like there's no, just because the impression makes you laugh doesn't mean that there's like a sketch there or anything. Yeah. But occasionally I'll find a way.
Dude, it was so funny. If you go back, like exactly what Mike's talking about, if you do impressions at all as a comic or voices, nobody takes you seriously or used to not. Like for Mike, if you go back and watch his awesome home run grand slam fucking Letterman spot, all the voices you kind of have to, well, why is he here? And then why is Lou Grant there? And then why is Rick and then everybody wants us to kind of dance. And it's so funny and such a buddy thing to be like, no, just call it through the line, man.
Yeah. No, and it's like in my stand-up, like, I mean, I appreciate that because I started doing impressions at open mics when I started at a time when like people were like, the cool comics, like, okay, we're done with impressions. Okay. So I feel like I was kind of part of a handful of comics who were starting out who were like, okay, well, how can we do this in a new way? Like, how can we do this in a way that's like interwoven with our stand-up? And it's like to go on stage and not be an impressionist, be a stand-up comic who does impressions. Like there has to be a joke in there somewhere and like a point and a premise. And so that's how I try to do it in my stand-up. And that's, how I'm trying, when I write for Jimmy's show and how obviously Jim Earl, also the other writer, writes his great sketches is, there's got to be a comedic premise in there. It's not just like saying a bunch of catchphrases that are associated with that person.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, I know my second time I ever did stand up at Cat City, and I taught myself up into doing my little handful of impressions, and I'm like 17 years old. And it might as well have been like, I might as well have full on been turning around. I wonder what he would say if he was here now.
Well, yeah. I mean, especially you don't come out of the gate fully formed if what did you say, 17 years old? And
yeah, I'm going to be there by 37 next summer. So
well, yeah, that's the kind of thing you're going to do when you're starting out. And, I know I was probably, aping a lot of things I had seen other people do when I first went up at open mic, impressions and otherwise. So, yeah, I mean, you that's kind of the approach that was generally taken. So it makes sense. That's what you do when you're starting out.
That's what you do from watching old Tonight Show and stuff. What were you going to say?
Oh, I was going to say, when you did first get started, was it in Houston area? And you had mentioned to me that you'd gone to Rice University.
I did, unrelated, but that's why I lived in Houston,
Yeah, I
and then
kind of
that's
put that
why
together. So were
yeah,
you at college age when you decided to let's just give this a try?
I I didn't go up at open mics until I graduated. I'd been out of college for about 4 or 5 months, but I had starting in high school, I started doing impressions of teachers,
Oh wow.
and they started putting me like, and I did it in a way that didn't really offend anyone. So they let me go up at assemblies and do these things. So I started kind of like developing a proto stagecraft approach to doing impressions in this kind of stand-up sense. And I also did that in college a little bit, poorly, but like, so I kind of had a little bit of pseudo experience, and then I was like, well, if I want to keep doing this in some way, college is over, so I would have to go to a comedy club, which I'd never been to before, even though it was not far from where I went to school. And then I just lucked into Monday nights at the Laugh Stop in Houston was just probably the one of the best open mics in the entire country at that time. It was pretty legendary, and you'd have headliners dropping in there all the time. Like Dave Attell would stay an extra night to like do the open mic and so on and so forth. And that was just the Monday open mic. Like after the Saturday second show, they would do an open mic in the lounge. Like the guy who ran the Laugh Stop at the time was really bent on developing his local talent. I think he kind of wanted to, he was running this great club, and I think he saw an opportunity to kind of be a talent manager of some kind.
Kind of a Steinbrenner here, work on a farm team, right? Like,
yeah. And and that didn't quite go exactly that way, but he did. He knew that having like good openers who were themselves kind of
pretty funny, yeah.
Had a lot of stage time. It just makes the whole show better, and that's what he's really trying to.
I mean, the Laugh Stop is where you had where Hicks getting started back before that, the early '90s. You had Kinnison around. I mean, that was serious,
Yeah.
Nice little pocket of
right.
stuff.
Well, it was the Comedy Workshop, which was sort of that old which had closed by the time I even came around. But the Laugh Stop was also one of those clubs that all those comics worked at that you just mentioned, for sure.
But there's so much good comedy that came out of that era of Houston and here. You think about who was here at that time, where J.R. Brown, Ron White coming through town. I mean, at that point, Mencia and Cable Guy, who are now irrelevant forever, they were treated like rock stars. It was really interesting. What do you think? What does it feel like? Because I know you've been going out doing shows. You were doing shows, when they were doing kind of the lower capacity, when we were still trying to figure out what's going on with the pandemic. What do you think this looks like coming out of this? Are people just starving to get back out there and hang out? That's what it seems like when we've been out a couple times.
Well, to be clear, I only did before I was vaccinated, I only went up twice, and they were both outdoor shows. So I was pretty much locked down.
Awesome.
And, but then, yeah, I've been pretty out and about in the past couple months, a little too much. And yeah, no, I mean, the crowds are great. I think there really does seem to be a surge of people who are hungry for getting out and seeing shows. And the crowd vibes have been great, as far as I've seen. And I'm sure that's the case all across the country. I mean, there's a lot of changes that have occurred here in Austin during the quarantine and the pandemic. And I don't know what the long-term effects of those things are going to be. I don't know how it's all going to shake out. And because there have been some new venues that have opened, a lot of new people have moved here.
Yes.
And it's a weird destabilized thing. It's all going to shift. It's all going to come to a resting place at some point, but I don't know when that's going to happen exactly. And I don't know what it's going to look like here. The Cap City Comedy Club is going to reopen up in the Domain, and that's going to be an interesting development. I'm looking forward to that, of course. But and then supposedly Joe Rogan's going to open his club at what was once the
the
One World Theater.
Yeah, it was a crazy cult. There's a documentary. I was going to say, Mike, with everybody moving to town, do guys like us need to start driving? And you may already, I don't think so. A Tesla and talking a little bit more alt-rightish or Breitbarty. I'm worried. We're very left. We have a signed Obama Biden thing up there on the wall. But with Rogan coming to town, we're wondering, do we need to get Dan Crenshaw on speed dial, or do we need to get eye patches?
I don't know. I think there's a quorum of the new comics who I think are very kind of, this is just through the grapevine. I haven't really encountered them, but kind of alt-right, kind of that ilk that it's like, I'm going to say some shocking shit on stage or whatever. And that's sort of what garners attention and laughs. And that's sort of been, and Austin traditionally has always been kind of the polar opposite of that. If anything, we're sort of like the soy boys comedy in general. Like it couldn't be, the two camps couldn't be more diametrically opposed.
I mean, we both grew up in Austin, and we're looking around going, this shit never would have flown at Aquafest, I'll tell you that.
Well, yeah, no, exactly. The old timers are like, get off my lawn with this shit, man.
It's really crazy. It seems to me, and the guys who do kind of roll like that alt-right, they all came from extremely blue states where it was like the cool against the man to be alt-right, like New York. Cuomo, and Newsom in California, and it seemed like it was like the hip thing to kind of push back and talk shit. Where down here with Greg Abbott, folks like us are like, we would 2 days with Gavin Newsom. That's all we want.
Yeah. No, I think that's a good point. I think so. I think that like where they originated in places like that. So that was sort of the contrarian point of view, generally speaking. And and they're bringing that seething rage here now.
Yeah, I think that's part of what you were talking about everything's going to kind of shake out, and we'll see where the chips lie. Is that they came to a town that isn't going to jump on that contrarian idea. We're kind of like, no, that's not cool here either. Like,
and if
the vibe that we've been kind of doing, so
right, yeah, exactly. And I think that, as it is now, it seems like. And I'm not as out and about as a lot of people are, but they kind of have their venues and other people have theirs, and it's right now it seems like never the twain shall meet type of stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Well,
I don't know. I mean, once the Cap City open mic starts, which I assume it will, then you might be seeing a clash of cultures there. I could foresee that.
It's going to be Paris, won't it? Paris of Austin comedy, where you'll see the alt-right guys talk to the hippie, the Mike folks, and it's really going to be interesting.
Mm-hmm.
And then the Nazi tanks roll in, just like Paris.
Here we go. And now it's on. Look what you did. That's funny you said, because Rogan doesn't strike me as the dude who could just put together a blindly loyal army.
I was just talking to someone today about a friend of mine who's he's a comic, he's from out of town, and he's doing something here. And we've both been doing comedy for about the same amount of time. We've known each other for about 20 years now. It's like 20 years ago, if someone had told you that Joe Rogan was going to become this political and cultural mountain in this country that just can't be moved. I'm not anti Joe Rogan particularly, but it is surreal just kind of like watching him over the years metastasize into this cultural thing. Like you can't, like the people that really hate him, I'm like, I'm sorry, there's nothing that can be done about Joe Rogan. Like he's not.
That's what I wanted to say. I don't want to paint anybody any corner, but I want to say something. We say NBA players develop.
Uh-huh.
We say bands develop. We have mentioned Joe Rogan metastasizes. So I don't want to say what that. I don't want to put a whatever. I'm just saying Please, we need a vaccine.
But Mike, you're right. The transition was so slow, kind of right under our noses.
During the
But if
lockdown.
you're gonna be upset about it now, you should have said something back then. Like, he made it happen, and part of me feels like maybe he didn't even realize he was making it happen until it kind of just was, and then he was like, I kind of like this hero worship feel.
Well, I'll tell you what, you don't see Brad Garrett trying to start a cult in this country. I know that much.
I know that's sort of what would have been like, right? I mean,
no, Brad Garrett, Mike, we're not giving Brad Garrett enough credit. It would have been, we got to think like third level sitcom characters. Like it would have been hey, Potsy moved to Austin, Texas. Are we all moving to Austin to follow Potsy at his podcast?
Yeah, exactly, man.
That's too
old.
Yeah,
you would not have predicted that. You're right. And I mean, and I don't think there's anything malevolent about him. I met him back in the day, and I think he just likes talk. He is. I mean, I just like talking to whoever about whatever, and it just people like watching him do that because he comes across as sort of an everyman, and it just has appeal, and you can't really control over what appeals to people. Unfortunately,
well, it's funny. I don't know if you've heard about this, Mike. Austin has a soccer team now.
Mm-hmm.
That's the greatest, most appropriate response to that. If you've lived in Austin for a while,
Yeah.
There's a racetrack too. I understand. There's all sorts of things.
We never go to any of it. Will Matthew McConaughey be our next governor? Because I saw him in a Riddler suit at a soccer function. And I don't know how that's polling.
Oh no.
Did you not see that? He opened the game on a giant bongo in a Riddler suit and ponytail, serial killer glasses. Back me up here.
No, I mean,
I think I did. I didn't look too closely at it. I'm like, all right, keep scrolling. This is bumming me out.
Well, that stadium.
But yeah, why not? I mean, Arnold Schwarzenegger was governor of California. This would be our version. Fuck it. I don't know. Why not?
We live right across the highway from the stadium, and when I saw that footage, I was like, the things you don't realize are going on just less than like 2 miles from your house, and you're not even aware. But
that kind of snuck up on me because we live close, and I'm like, oh, there's that stadium I've heard about. Okay, when did that? All right.
Well, I just know I've encountered friends in the past month or so that have never mentioned soccer before ever in their lives.
Those are called good Americans.
And now they're like, I really want to check out a game, I looked into see.
Yeah, people seem to be into it. They're all excited now.
Okay.
That's how starving we are to one, get out of the house, and for sports in Austin.
Well, then they must have. They're smarter than I gave them credit for timing that so perfectly.
Hey, Mike, when you're growing up, I know you're originally St. Louis and then Houston. Were you Cardinals, Astros? I mean, what was your sports? Which way did you lean?
I'm not a sports fan really.
You're like, I'm too busy being OG funny to watch.
Nah, I just never really grew up. I mean, like when I was a kid in the Cardinals, they had a run where they were in the playoffs a lot. And I watched that on TV just because like that's what everyone was doing.
Yeah,
but I don't really have any real interest in sports. Sorry.
I'm glad.
Next topic. I mean, I don't want to bore you because I got nothing to say about it. I don't
know.
time.
I think the Fletch jersey makes the show look misleadingly sports focused. But once Tara moves and you realize it's not.
Oh hell yeah! No, it's a comedy based right there.
No, man, we never know because we really just kind of go, hey, we like that guy or girl or woman. I'm not woken up as I should be at 35 in Austin, but we're working on it.
You know what? None of us are. I don't think none of us like fit the pass the test on that.
We have to. Speaking of that, we had a question for you as we're going through your bio stuff. You've done, if any kid has played a Disney video game in like the last decade, you have been their Buzz Lightyear.
I for a while was the sound alike for Buzz Lightyear for Disney. Yes.
Yes.
What is it like working for Disney? The Disney character voices department subdivision or whatever. They're great. They're wonderful to work with, honestly. Yeah, I'm not just saying that. Disney itself is sort of a scary corporation, but these folks were always a treat.
That's kind of like if you're doing a voiceover for Disney, I feel like there's a side door. It's like the private part of the airport. Like they get you in, they get you out. They're like, please, you're the talent. You can like, let's get you in here.
Not for the sound alikes. maybe for the regular people.
The door that I didn't hear about. It caught my eye, Disney, because we had kind of gotten into it's quarantine. We were really bored. We would get into these like wormholes in YouTube and just like hyper focus on a topic.
We ran out of anime movies that you had worked in, so we're what are we gonna do?
Over that time, we learned a lot of really scary stuff about the Disney Corporation. Just a lot of like old employee interviews of people who worked at the parks or worked in the
really.
Yeah.
Oh, I bet there's a whole wormhole about that stuff.
Mike's like, I'm gonna stop you. I like getting a paycheck.
Yeah, he's like, I'm contractually obligated to stop this conversation.
Actually, I think they found a new guy, so you can go right ahead. I don't think I'm in trouble.
One of the most, I think, uneasy feelings I've gotten was knowing that when you're walking around the park in costume, if you have heat stroke, a heart attack, anything,
a real stroke,
even if you throw up like inside of your outfit, they won't take that head off of you or that mask. You have to stay in character.
You just spray your
and
face.
Like they'll have to like have employees come in and move you like physically like out of sight of the guests before they can help you in any way. And so they've had a couple cast members who have passed away because they could not resuscitate in costume. It was dark. It was dark.
Oh my God. Oh. Jesus.
Mike almost slipped into Pacino right there.
Say again?
I said you almost slipped into Pacino right there, like just a genuine honest Pacino.
Whoa, they just die in the park? What?
Something's wrong with Jasmine. Yeah.
They don't do anything.
Yeah.
That's shameful. That's what that is. That's shameful.
All sad, all low key, all devil's advocate.
I've seen it all.
Fucking Mickey Mouse is dead.
Oh my God.
Oh, okay. Well, that was very upsetting until Mike.
Now he's like, next time I have insomnia, I'm getting on this Disney train. Let's learn it all.
Also, I thought it was fucking insane that if your sibling, your friend, your best friend, whatever, like the way Mike calls it Jimmy Dore, or the way Mike comes on this Weirdos at Home program, I've heard is very good. If you run into a friend and try to say, "Hey, what's up, man? I can't believe your Aladdin gig's going so well," they cannot acknowledge.
Yeah,
they cannot.
Not to know that.
I mean, if your father comes to go, "Son, your mother has just passed in a car wreck. I wanted to tell you first," you have to be like, "Well, Jafar."
Oh wow. Oh no.
Yeah.
Jeez.
It's like this mantra of just like keep the magic alive. You have to always keep that facade and magic alive for the guests.
It's like going in the military or something. Like you just have to make sacrifices in order to.
It sounds like that place where that cult used to be located, but now Joe Rogan's opening a comedy club there.
Oh yeah.
Now what was that cult? Like there was a Netflix documentary about them, right?
Here, I'll look it up while we're talking about it.
And what was the gist of what they were about?
So
was it a cult that was just like one guy?
My dad's house was right down the street from there, and no idea as we passed it.
Well, they're polite. Cool. It sounds like
they might be on business. Let me find out what they've done.
I had always just heard like urban legend kind of around town about it. I never saw the doc or.
You must know some kind of inside thing. So I live down the street.
Well, we've learned you're not the most aware person.
Well, they probably didn't advertise their existence too much. I mean, yeah, like
yeah, they were polite.
They're like, "Hey, we're a cult over here. We're weird."
It's right down there. It's right down there. De Niro. It's just right through there. Right down there. Okay, the name of it is called. Oh, there's so many pieces on this. It was called the Buddha Field Cult. Some guy made up. He just made it up.
and chill. It sounds like
he's having sex with young men. It's the same old song and dance, Mike. I'm sorry we wasted your time with that research.
But it's probably like focused around one dude, like most of them are.
Yeah. He just made it up. It's like I'll tell you who committed was the Heaven Gates people.
They had like uniforms and all.
They had a Nike deal.
The Nike footwear? Yeah.
That was not good press for them, or was it? Maybe it was. I don't know. Is that one of those things like no publicity is bad publicity?
I was telling Tara I was in 5th grade and I got sent in the hallway because somebody brought it up and I was like, yeah, just do it right. And the teacher, kids didn't get it, but the teacher was like, no, you're gonna have to.
Oh no.
I grew up as an old kid, Mike, and I had to try to compete with my dad and his Scotch drinking lawyer friend. So I had to like be able to make Dennis Miller jokes as a child.
And then then spills into school and that doesn't go well.
See, earlier you were describing how at your school they kind of were in on the joke and they would bring you up and let you do impressions.
Let's support Mike and his talent.
His dream that he still has in bed today, like waking up and being able to like clown like that in front of your friends and people at school and all of that, and you just did it and got shot down every day of your life.
I could have been somebody, child.
They should have just fostered you.
Could have done voices. We've done a thing lately with Mike where I've been obsessed with Brando and Heston. But
oh really? Oh well, Brando. Obviously, you're watching The Godfather. I mean, so that's relevant. What does the Heston come from?
We got real stoned the other day because of how many other states it's legal in, and we wanted to be helping Joe Biden out with the cause. And we watched the original Planet of the Apes, and we were laughing our ass off at, I mean, everything.
Yeah.
You got out. She got out a legal pad and was writing a set.
I was like, we got to remember this. I just hadn't seen it since I was probably a teenager. And I thought I knew what it was about, but then when you rewatch it as an adult, especially an adult who's been through the year and a half that everyone else has been through.
I bet it's a trip after the quarantine.
Like we're all in a prison, like society.
Oh, man, I should watch that again. I haven't seen that since I was a kid.
All of them are streaming, I think, on HBO Max right now. So we're gonna slowly work our way back through all of them because I remember they got weird as they progress into that series.
Get to time travel like most sellout movies.
Yeah.
Where the apes like came to,
and then they're like in New York. I remember. Yeah, some of them were like, "Wait, what's going on, man?" So, yeah, I watched Contagion at the beginning of all this.
Yeah,
and I'm like, "What am I doing to myself?"
That's the
Matt Damon Chicago?
Okay.
Yeah, it's a big. What was it, Soderbergh, like the big ensemble cast and Kate Winslet and everything. It's about exactly what's happened,
but not as bad, right?
Well, yeah, no, I mean, it was in the beginning of it, so like I didn't know how bad it was gonna get. I got to go back and look and see how many people died.
Well, I saw somebody on Twitter being snarky had posted, "Hey, we've now passed contagion level from the movie," and that was like this time last.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh shit!
He's all like personally upset about it.
No, I was joking around after we watched Mike was doing. You were either doing something on Jimmy Dore or you were doing something. No, it was old. It must have been Letterman. That came out wrong. And he said something about we need a vaccine. I can't remember what character he was doing. And I was just like, Mike MacRae warned us.
What was it? It was Dr. Fauci?
No, it was a bit on Letterman, and it was something about a vaccine for something. I don't know if it was the Indiana Jones bit, but you got vaccine in there. And I think I'm just so PTSD at this point where I'm like, see, Mike knew.
I assure you I did not know.
I actually got mad watching your Letterman stuff the other day because he does one of the best Harrison Fords I've ever heard.
Yeah, I mean, I know you know, but yeah, you really do.
Including Harrison Ford.
Yeah.
And then the assholes at Letterman went nuts for Sean Connery, and I gave Tara a 30-minute TED talk about how Connery shouldn't have been such a big deal.
Well, it's fun. I've been doing that so long that the Harrison Ford, when I started doing them, he's more 90s Harrison Ford, the one we kind of grew up with and everything. But now, I'm if I do him, I'm like, he's but now he sounds different. He's even older. And so I kind of juggled this for a while, and I was making these little videos during the pandemic. And the one that really went viral was I made a video of the two of them, the old Harrison Ford and the young Harrison Ford, living together in quarantine.
Oh my God.
And it was fun, and it was the one that kind of hit. So if you want to see something of mine, like real quick after this, go to my Twitter feed, and it's my pinned tweet up there. It's 1993 Harrison Ford quarantined with 2020 Harrison Ford. They get a little fight. It's nice.
Yeah, we'll link it in with this video for sure. The world needs to see it.
Speaking of Harrison Ford, you keep me updated on this poor old man's condition.
It's elder abuse at this point. He cannot do another Indiana Jones.
What he's doing?
Yeah, it's weird that they're doing this. I don't understand.
He got hurt, and now they're like, well, production.
He broke his arm again or something.
Got hurt. I'm like, he's pushing 80.
Which, by the way, this whole situation is Mike's original bit about Indiana Jones.
I know, like he's it's like that old bit is about how he's too old to do it now. And then I heard my goddamn shoulder on set. I'm smoking weed and I try to get in a fight, and I broke my shoulder. He did that for real. So now they had to shut down production.
Same thing happened on Star Wars. He broke his ankle.
I know. I broke my leg on a door. How the fuck do you do that? Get high as a fucking kite. That's how. How you break your leg on a door? I did it. I know how to do it. And guess what? I don't have to film for another 6 weeks. I can just lie around and smoke pot. I know what I'm doing.
We got into a pretty deep discussion about what is this paycheck for, Harrison? Why are we stuck?
Yeah, what does he not have?
I don't know. At one point he had a young wife that maybe he needed to compensate for, but she's
I need a new duvet cover.
What is the deal? I don't know why he felt the need he had to take this role again, but Spielberg must be just the most persuasive person.
He must have something on him. He must have some dirt on him or something.
Most sad. You're right. That is probably what it is. We have him in prison somehow. There's something that he doesn't want us to know.
Hey, Mike, it's been so cool to have you on. We're not in any rush to go, but this is a bit, as a guy who does a couple of the voices that you do, but not near as good, but not back of the bus bad. I have to say, I've been floating something around here where somehow Vince Vaughn, he gets Jon Favreau to get him into Mandalorian. And that's something I do every time we see Star Wars now or anything Star Wars related. And I would do it, but I would just be, hitting a T-ball, in front of Jim Tomei. That's an old Cleveland reference.
Well, hey, that's your bit, man. That's a good premise for it. So I'm not even going to try to work it up, steal it.
That is so respectful. You know why he's allowing me to have it? Because he knows no one will ever hear me do it. And then eventually someone else with money and a real show will come up with it and call him, and he will have the ability to go, I don't know. They called me. I couldn't reach you, man. It was like the Zoom thing. I couldn't get a hold of you.
Well, what if that gets him on maybe he will do the Mandalorian.
I hope so. I want him to play a member of a band in the Mandalorian, like in the cantina, or like Bill Murray did back
like a casino lounge singer type situation.
Yeah.
Fuck that. I'm gonna play some sort of mercenary. I'm not gonna be the Star Wars property, not be some fucking cool guy playing in the band. Fuck that.
Maybe it's going to be okay. It's not even that kind of thing. You just sing a couple tunes, you get off stage. It's not even the kind of thing where you have to even worry about it. You do Sweet Caroline, ba ba ba, and here we are. We're having drinks. We're having a good time.
Very nice, man.
I'm retiring right there from podcasting. Yeah. Goodbye, everybody.
Well, Mike, it's been so awesome having you on. What a fun conversation. We really appreciate it.
Well, thanks. And I hope.
Is there anything coming up that you want everyone to know about? What you're up to?
I'm part of a comedy series. It's going to be, if you're here in Austin, at the State Theater by the Paramount on the 22nd.
I just saw that.
called Home Base, and I'll be on there with a couple of other really funny local comics, and it should be a good show. I don't think it's sold out yet, but they usually do. So come on out and follow me on Twitter at Mike MacRae Mike, and check out my pinned video we were talking about and all my other dumb thoughts I put up there.
You know what I love, Mike? You never did you never fell for the thing of doing a Trump, you know?
It was just one of those things where like that had been,
everybody's doing it.
Everyone was doing it. I'm like, well, okay, all the people who are going to get shit from doing Trump have already done it or whatever. But like, and it was the same thing with Bush. Like everyone had a Bush, but like I got an Obama figured out before other people. So Obama was part of my act. Yeah, exactly. And then Biden, I've had some, fun with, because I worked on that for a while, and I kind of got it's hard on my throat. I don't enjoy doing it. There's a few that are like, this is physically unpleasant to do, but yeah, I've gotten some fun stuff from that, especially on the Jimmy Dore show.
Oh yeah, that's so cool, man. We're gonna post everything. We're gonna plug all of this awesome shit coming up. I'm going to continue to work on my voices in the bathtub.
Shower's a good place to do it.
Shower's good. I won't get busted. That's good thinking, Mike. I'm gonna cut the Trump out of my act now, because Mike said you're a loser if you do that.
No, I just said everyone beat me to it. You're just one of the people that beat me to it. And also I didn't want to channel that dude's energy. Like I didn't want him inhabiting me. You know what I'm saying? Like this just feels like poison.
I do his voice just to joke around here from time to time, but I didn't even start doing that until after it was already over. It was safe. We were in the clear.
Yeah, it was like, it's safe now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I learned that. You're exactly right. That is the deal with it's bad energy, because we got to a place about 2.5 years into that deal where nobody wanted to hear a Trump voice, and nobody wanted to be
not even Trump's actual voice. No one wanted to hear that.
Yeah, right. That's right.
And yeah, everyone that I do, I kind of like on some level. Like I do Mitt Romney. He's a Republican, but I kind of like him.
Me too, man.
Like
a lot of respect watching him sprint for his life through the Capitol. Really just getting those arms and legs up, trying to get away. I could not believe that was Mitt Romney.
Well, in the Scooby-Doo, where they ran one way and then they ran back the other way.
Yeah, I'd be running too.
Nightmare.
I mean, I don't want to get murdered just the same as anybody else. So yes,
God, it's so
you bet your bippy that I sprinted through there, certainly. But I was wearing a mask. I was remaining safe. This was before the vaccine.
I know we've been trying to wrap up, but Tara pointed out something. You do so many impressions that when you think of, you go, well, there's no real hook. And I think that's part of what makes Mike so fucking talented, is guys that you go like, what would the hook be? Whether it's Clooney, Michael Douglas. I mean,
I like to try to. Yeah.
It's more. I don't know what that person sounds like off the top of my head, and then when I hear you do it, I'm like, that is what it is. I didn't realize I knew that voice. It was hiding somewhere up in my brain.
That's why it's always.
Yeah, and those are the ones I like to zero in on, and that's what Harrison Ford was for me in my act. Starting out, people like, there really wasn't a Harrison Ford impression back then, and then people would be like, I never thought you could impersonate that guy, but then you just did. So a lot of times I'd get like, sometimes like if someone went up and did like a Schwarzenegger or something, people have seen a Schwarzenegger impression so many times they just they laugh on cue. A lot of mine, like they'd like stare for a while and then start laughing. And that's a lot of the reasons why I'm like, I got to have like actual bits in here also, because I'm doing a lot of these voices that people haven't heard impersonated before. So, it kind of helps if you got some like jokes in there.
I got to say, for anybody watching this, I'm usually a better host. It's just, this is the kind of stuff, and this is the perfect guest where I just nerd out. I nerd out because it's like, it's like me showing up at, David Robinson basketball camp, just sitting there in my t-shirt that's too long, just looking up. Because, by the end of the night, I'll be trying to do the voice that Mike does to Tara, trying to be like, see, I can do stuff.
I knew this was going to be
I thought you did a great job.
Well, thank you very much. A lot of people call me all the time. It was a great job. I mean, the best job. How good was that job? It was great. Okay, we've ate this up. We wasted enough of Mike MacRae's time. He is a incredibly talented stand-up voice actor, you can. I mean, what can't you catch him in?
Well, all right. Well, there's quite a few things, but
I told you I'm usually a better host.
Well, yeah, follow me on Twitter, and you can see all the upcoming stuff that I'll be doing, and then maybe in the fall. So yeah, check it out at Mike MacRae Mike, and that's MacRae.
Awesome.
Let's get out there, Austin.
We'll put it in the description too. It was so awesome talking to you. Great to meet you.
Mike, hang on. We're going to end it real quick. We'll be back tomorrow, guys, with Joe Bones from the Texas Signal to talk serious politics. I don't think there will be as many impressions. At least I can't promise Mitt Romney. Mike, thank you so much. And then I swear you do the wrap it.
I do. All right. It was wonderful talking to you.
You too. It was nice to meet you guys, and hopefully I'll see you out and about in real life here before too long.
Definitely.
So. Hang on, Mike.
Well, thank you so much. Bye, everybody.